The second song is what we call an ehek, or cry song. These kinds of songs are sung at funerals and at ceremonies that end the grief over a person's loss a year after death. Yea, oh, yea, oh, yea, oh, yea, oh, yea, oh, yea, oh.
With contact, so much changed. Even though the first newcomers came to us for help, they soon began to call our ways backward, our healers and our helpers conjurers, our medicines and knowledge ineffective, primitive, or worse.
If you drew a circle and you could visualize the circle, at one time when you saw the circle, the medicine people were Aboriginal. Their medicine was Aboriginal. People who were responsible for law and order were Aboriginal. Nurses were Aboriginal. Teachers were Aboriginal. And slowly, as colonization evolved, you looked into the circle, there were no more Aboriginals in the circle. They were all non-Aboriginals, policemen, others. And pretty soon we were totally powerless.
Any area of responsibility in our community, not unlike city managers or finance people, mothers, you know, in society, you disrupt all those things. That's what happened to us. Can you imagine having them come to Newfoundland? You tell them no more English. We're going to teach you Newfoundland. You're going to only speak Newfoundland. And they did that to our chiefs. You know, the teaching was no longer imparted to them as it should be, because they were off in school learning something else. And there's very specific training that chiefs undergo.
As you know, with colonization, one of the initiatives that was brought about was the imposition of Indian residential schools, where they came and took away thousands upon thousands upon thousands of young children, sometimes as young as 4 and thereabouts, away from their families and moved them into these strange institutions, usually far away from their homelands. And the expressed intent of that was to assimilate the young Aboriginal child, to remove him from the influence of his parents and the community and the culture that existed, so that there would be no Indianness left in him by the time he or she, the little child, got through the school system. So that was in itself very, very bad.
Some of our knowledge has survived that gap. And the knowledge gap, it occurred with just about every aspect of our lives. You know, with me, I don't know how I learned English, but it was my second language until I was 10. I carried that on even in residential school for about 2 weeks. And I had 2 older brothers there, and the eldest brother, he said, "Can you please try and talk more English?" He didn't scold me, but it was Big Brother giving me advice, and I listened to him. By Christmas, I was a residential schoolboy, and I sounded like it.
My cousins would talk, would speak in their dialect, and they would be slapped in the mouth. And they were caught singing, and like that, it would be really a hit on the back of their hands and the mouth with sticks. And they would say it was the devil's work, what they were doing. It belonged to spiritual work, belonged to the drumming, and like that was devil's work. And if people were doing healing, and they said they weren't doing that to heal people, the devil came, had a lot to do with that. So they weren't allowed to speak their dialect, they weren't allowed to learn anything about spiritual work or singing or dancing.
With the decline of our language and ways for teaching and training our leaders, we became dependent on Western processes for education, health, income, housing, and food. Colonial values began to supersede our own teachings and ways of being and doing. This was the beginning of the health gaps that we see today.